So like whenever you first like came across like an article or read about the symptoms, what was your initial reaction? Because for me, it was like I just about wept, talk about dramatic. I just like it was just like this eye-opening experience. Like I'm looking at this list of these symptoms, and it's like this is like a checklist of everything that I've ever struggled with in my entire life. And it's just like now there's like a name for it. So like what was that like for you?
Yeah, pretty similar, honestly. I think my jaw was just wide open. I was like, no, no, no. And like just reading each thing and being like, yeah, that's me, that's me, that's me. Um, well, and it just kept getting more like, oh, what a coincidence. And then like it was just so hard to believe. And it felt very affirming. It felt very validating. I kind of just had to like sit there and just think and like, wow, like there's actually like a reason for this. Um, because all those years I don't know. I just thought there was something wrong with me, that there was just no explanation. And here was an explanation. And literally everything fit perfectly. And so then I was like, this is great. Like, what information can I find about it? And I realized fairly quickly that everything was like in the UK. Um,
Mhm.
and I was like, well, but like I'm in America. What resources are there in America?
I can't
um,
swim on over.
yeah. And so that's when I kind of realized they're like, oh, it goes by DCD, developmental coordination disorder. So I like looked that up. And I mean, there was just hardly anything there. There were some things, but like not really anything helpful for me. I really, my first reaction was like, this is great. Now, how do I get a diagnosis? Because I know, like, as validating as this is, I just, I guess it's one of those things where it's like, if I could tell people and if I could prove it somehow, I think that would be so like affirming to me and validating for me. Um, and I just realized fairly quickly that it would be next to impossible to get a diagnosis in America.
Hmm. Um, so whenever I found out, I was 17, and like this was in the summer. So and it's funny because the moment that I found out about it, not to make this all about me, but uh, the moment that I found out about it, I knew I had to tell someone. I don't know if you felt that way. It's like I gotta tell someone. Um,
Yeah.
but I told first person I told was my brother, and he was all like he was busy. He was like wrapped up in whatever he was writing at the time, and he made a comment that was just like basically saying that don't just because you read something on the internet doesn't make it true. It was basically kind of dismissive, and that just kind of like
Yes.
that kind of shattered almost shattered the catharsis of it. That because again for me it was affirming and validating as well, but then I realized that as affirming and validating as it was for me, other people may not take me seriously just because I say this is the case and I know this is true. Um, Other people may not believe me. And right after I like just less than a month later, we just suddenly like moved to a different town and my sister and I were twins. We had to spend our senior year somewhere else. We were struggling to, the transition and at the time I was in this new school, I was like trying to ask around about, I was trying to say I recently read about this thing called dyspraxia, and I, I want to see if maybe I could get a diagnosis for it. And I could not find anybody that one had ever heard of it. And because they had never heard of it, they were just very dismissive about it.
Yeah.
They didn't care. And I was at that age and I kind of had this thought in my mind of, well, I'm almost an adult now. Who's going to care about this now? You know? because
Mhm.
I felt like once you become an adult, all your struggles don't matter to society. So you just kind of like, I'm screwed now. And again, I couldn't get a diagnosis. Everybody, um, I remember they brought in this guy. I don't know if he worked for some kind of neurological center or whatever, but they had him come in, and he kept talking about dysgraphia, and he kept using the term dysgraphia as if as if that was what I was talking about. And his advice was buy a trampoline and jump, and
What?
that will improve your like coordination or battle. I don't
Oh
know,
no.
but then that was his great advice. Is if I
I
put,
mean, it sounds kind of fun, but
I mean, I like jumping on a trampoline, but it didn't necessarily help my motor skills.